जस हिंदी के सारे व्यूअर्स को नमस्कार। आपका स्वागत प्रोग्राम स्ट्रेट टॉक में। मैं आपकी होस्ट आशमिता। जैसे आप देख सकते हैं, एक बार फिर आपके साथ एक बहुत ही स्पेशल प्रोग्राम लेके हाजिर हुए हैं। एक बार फिर हमें मौका मिला है अपने ऑफिस के बाहर, स्टूडियो के बाहर जाके आपको एक स्पेशल प्रोग्राम पेश करने का। एंड इनफैक्ट आप सोच रहे होंगे कि आज हम कहाँ पहुँचे हैं। अक्सर हमारे इस प्रोग्राम पे, इस चैनल पे डिस्कशन होती है कि किस तरह हमारी जो एनआरआई कम्युनिटी है, साउथ एशियन कम्युनिटी है, इतनी बड़ी गिनती में जहाँ भी जाते हैं, इतने सक्सेसेस उन्होंने पाए हैं, बट फिर भी कहीं ना कहीं हम ये कह सकते हैं कि पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम में हमारी रिप्रेजेंटेशन उतनी नहीं है जितनी कम्युनिटी में हमारी प्रेजेंस है। जब हम रिप्रेजेंटेशन की बात करते हैं, इस मुल्क में, अमेरिका में, एक बहुत ही फेमस कहावत है, ऑल पॉलिटिक्स इज़ लोकल। लेकिन लोकल पॉलिटिक्स को समझने के लिए लोकल पॉलिटिशियंस को समझना पड़ता है। आपके लोकल इलेक्टेड ऑफिशियल्स कौन है, सबसे छोटे ओहदे से लेके, चाहे वो आपका स्कूल बोर्ड मेंबर हो, चाहे वो आपका सिटी काउंसिलमैन हो, आपके जो काउंटी है उसमें आपके रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स हों, जो आपको स्टेट लेवल पे रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं वो हों आपकी स्टेट कैपिटल में, या आपके फेडरल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स जो आपके डिस्ट्रिक्ट को, आपके शहर को वाशिंगटन डीसी में रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं। सो जब हम इन लोगों की बात करते हैं, ऑफ कोर्स एंड गोल तो हमारा होता है कि हमारी अपनी कम्युनिटी उन चेहरों में हमें देखने को मिले जो हमें वाशिंगटन डीसी में, हमें स्टेट कैपिटल में, सिटी काउंसिल में रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं। पर जब तक हम वहाँ तक नहीं पहुँच सकते एक बड़ी गिनती में, तब तक हमें एटलीस्ट उन लोगों के बारे में जानकारी रखनी चाहिए जो हमें इस वक्त आप कह लो लेवल्स पे रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं। सो आज आपके साथ एक बहुत ही स्पेशल प्रोग्राम लेके हाजिर हुए हैं। हम पहुंचे हैं मिनियोला, न्यूयॉर्क में, जो कि ऑफिस है स्टेट सेनेटर एना कैप्लन का। जी हाँ, हम स्टेट सेनेटर एना कैप्लन के ऑफिस में पहुंचे हैं। एंड ये जो पोजीशन है, वंस अगेन, न्यूयॉर्क स्टेट के डिस्ट्रिक्ट 7 को सेनेटर एना कैप्लन स्टेट असेंबली में, स्टेट कैपिटल में रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं। सो जब ऑल्बनी में, इस डिस्ट्रिक्ट की, जो कि लॉन्ग आइलैंड में पड़ता है, नासा काउंटी में, कोई भी बात होती है, जो टाउन्स इस डिस्ट्रिक्ट में इंक्लूड होते हैं, उनके हक की बात सेनेटर एना कैप्लन करती है। एंड सेनेटर एना कैप्लन की बहुत एक इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी है। एक फर्स्ट जनरेशन इमिग्रेंट जो यहाँ पे आके आज एक स्टेट सेनेटर की सीट में बैठी हुई है। एना कैप्लन हमारी कम्युनिटी की तरह एक अमेरिकन ड्रीम को हासिल कर चुके हैं, उस ड्रीम को निभा रहे हैं। सो कैसे ये ड्रीम हमारी भी कम्युनिटी हासिल कर सकती है, हमारे बच्चे आगे इन पोजीशंस तक पहुंच सकते हैं, उसकी जानकारी लेने के लिए पहले वंस अगेन हमें समझना पड़ेगा कि एक स्टेट सेनेटर क्या करते हैं, उनका क्या रोल होता है, किस तरह उनकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज़ डे टू डे, उनकी कैंपेनिंग, उनकी ड्यूटीज़ होती हैं, किस तरह वो अपने कंस्टिट्यूएंट्स के साथ रल के काम करते हैं, उनके बारे में समझते हैं। इनफैक्ट स्टेट सेनेटर एना कैप्लन साउथ एशियन कम्युनिटी के साथ बहुत क्लोजली काम करती है, करीबी में काम करती हैं। इनफैक्ट ना कि अगर आप यहाँ पे लॉन्ग आइलैंड में रहते हो या आपने कोई भी जस हिंदी की प्रोग्रामिंग देखी होंगी, ना कि सिर्फ वो, चाहे वो इंडिया डे परेड हो लॉन्ग आइलैंड की, या कोई भी हमारी त्यौहार हो, उनके लिए पहुँचते हैं। बट मोस्ट रिसेंटली स्टेट सेनेटर एना कैप्लन ने दिवाली को लेके एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बिल पास किया है। सो जहाँ हमें स्कूल्स में बच्चों को हॉलीडेज़ मिलती हैं क्रिसमस के लिए या जूइश हॉलीडेज़ के लिए, वैसे ही उनको डेज़ ऑफ मिले, प्रॉपर रिकग्निशन हो दिवाली के लिए भी। सो इन चीज़ों की बात करेंगे। एंड ख़ास करके जहाँ पे हमारी कम्युनिटी में एक एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप का जो स्पिरिट है बहुत बड़े लेवल पे देखने को मिलता है, वो एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप, वो स्मॉल बिजनेसेस को क्या कुछ रिसोर्सेज सेनेटर एना कैप्लन का ऑफिस प्रोवाइड कर रहा है, उसके बारे में भी जानकारी देंगे। ख़ास करके आज के दिनों में जब कोविड अभी भी लोगों को एक इकोनॉमिक तौर पे नेगेटिवली इम्पैक्ट कर रहा है, आपके लिए, खास करके अगर आप यहाँ रहते हैं डिस्ट्रिक्ट 7 इन लॉन्ग आइलैंड, न्यूयॉर्क स्टेट में आपको क्या कुछ रिसोर्सेज पता होने चाहिए आपके बिजनेस के लिए, आपकी हेल्प के लिए, जो गवर्नमेंट आपको ऑफर करती है उनके बारे में थोड़ी सी जानकारी शेयर करेंगे। वंस अगेन बहुत स्पेशल एपिसोड लेके आज आपके साथ हाजिर हुए हैं। मिनियोला न्यूयॉर्क में पहुंचे हैं स्टेट सेनेटर एना कैप्लन के ऑफिस में, एंड स्टेट सेनेटर के साथ बात होगी। यहाँ पे एक छोटी सी ब्रेक के लिए रुक रहे हैं, आप कहीं ना जाइए। स्ट्रेट टॉक विल बी बैक आफ्टर द ब्रेक। जस हिंदी के सारे व्यूअर्स को नमस्कार, आपका स्वागत इस बहुत ही स्पेशल प्रोग्राम में। जिस तरह आपको बताया, हम पहुंचे मिनियोला एट द ऑफिसेज ऑफ स्टेट सेनेटर एना कैप्लन, जो कि लॉन्ग आइलैंड में डिस्ट्रिक्ट, न्यूयॉर्क स्टेट में डिस्ट्रिक्ट 7 रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं। एंड यू नो, जब हम रिप्रेजेंटेशन की बात करते हैं, हम हमेशा आपको बोलते हैं इस मुल्क में एक बहुत फेमस कहावत है, ऑल पॉलिटिक्स इज़ लोकल। आपके जो लोकल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स हैं, अगर आप उनको जानेंगे, पहचानेंगे, उनके बारे में जानकारी रखेंगे, तभी आप यहाँ के सिस्टम में इन्वॉल्व हो सकते हैं। सो इस जानकारी को आप तक पहुँचाने के लिए आज हम पहुँचे हैं एना कैप्लन के ऑफिसेज में। सो वंस अगैन आई लव द फैक्ट दैट वी कैन बी हियर इन पर्सन। व्हाट एन ऑनर टू हैव यू ऑन आवर प्रोग्राम, सेनेटर एना कैप्लन। सच अ प्लेजर। वेलकम टू स्ट्रेट टॉक।
Thank you. Namaste to all your viewers. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to reconnect with your viewers and some of my own residents this way.
Yeah, absolutely. Senator Kaplan, you have such an interesting background. You are a daughter of immigrants, and you really represent the American dream. Like so many South Asian viewers watching right now, also share. You know, you've had a few years in office now. We'll talk a little bit about how you entered politics, but I want to start with kind of hearing about this background. I've heard it before. I love the story every single time. It's so inspiring. Tell us a little bit about how a immigrant started her journey in this country.
So I have to say, it really is a wonderful story. A political refugee coming to this country, a country that really opened its doors and its arms to me and welcomed me and has given me an opportunity, so many opportunities, to do what I would like to do, to become part of something big. How many people can say they've left their country of birth, have gone somewhere else, and are elected to one of the highest offices in that country or that state? I think America is a land of opportunity. It's a land where you can come, dream big, work hard, and make every one of those dreams come true.
Absolutely. The land of dreams and a land built by immigrants.
That's right.
Senator Kaplan, you are in this role as state senator, actively working to build a better America for all of your constituents, for all those immigrants that may follow, and all of those Americans that get to live the American dream currently. How did you make that journey into politics? 2018 is when you first entered this office, which both seems like a lifetime ago and also not that long. But I'd love to hear what it was that motivated, inspired you to get involved.
So I have to say, I would have never in a million years thought I would run for political office. You know, I was very involved in my own community, in the library board, in my children's school. I ran for office because I wanted to bring more awareness how we, first generation immigrants that come to this country, we really need to immerse ourselves here and become part of the community that we are part, and do everything that is available and experience. I ran because I wanted to bring more awareness to my own community, the Persian community, that they should go and register and vote so that their voices could be heard. The things that are important to them would be important to their local electeds. That was really why I ran. And then the opportunity made itself available to run for New York State Senate. And there were 3-4 key issues that were really very much on my mind. Women's reproductive rights. As a woman, as a mother of 2 daughters, that was front and center. Great public education.
Absolutely.
I went to public high school. My children went to had a public education from K till 12th grade. Living in Nassau County and dealing with the high taxes.
Oh, yes.
And also voting rights.
Absolutely.
But even more important than that, I think the key factor why I ran was hearing few different high school students in my district when I was a councilwoman talking about having a fear of going to school.
Wow.
Parkland shooting had just happened, and I heard their cries for help, asking their electeds to take a stand and understand that they don't want to go to school being fearful that someone is going to walk in with an AR-15 and start shooting at them. Yeah. We want our children to be at school, and we want their only challenge be the science exam that they have, or a math test that is coming up.
Absolutely.
Not that they're worried about someone coming in and just shooting at them randomly. Yeah. That was really why I ran. Wow. And I am so proud to have been part of this conference. And I can tell you, looking back in the last 3.5 years, we have done so much. Myself, really first taking a look at this district that I represent, this wonderful, really diverse district, but also understanding that we represent the entire state and all of 20 million people who call New York home.
Absolutely. And you know, New York, like very few other states, is a leader in the nation with a lot of these policies. And so the legislation that happens at the state level in Albany, the work of senators such as yourself goes a long, long way into shaping the direction the country heads in. Senator Kaplan, to hear your views, your personal feelings, personal, emotions tied to the gun issue, I don't think any parent watching, and education is a very, very serious issue, especially for the South Asian community who value it as a top priority for their children, don't want their children to have even the psychological trauma of active shooter drills, let alone a tragic experience of the worst kind that unfortunately Parkland and so many schools have suffered from. I'll ask you a little bit more. I know you have some specific bills you're working on in this regard. Senator Kaplan, let's talk a little bit about your constituency and the work that you've done since 2018, right? I know there's been so many things. Viewers saw some of the posters coming into your office just a few minutes ago, so we know that you're very, very active, and this district demands that kind of activity, we're sure. But tell us about some of the highlights of your tenure in the last 3.5 years.
So I have to tell you, one of the best things about my job is meeting people from all over, breaking bread with them, praying with them. That to me is priceless. And I've made so many friends. Having said that, it is very challenging times. We are very divided in this country right now. And we all have to understand that we need to come to the middle, to the center, to unite and work together to get things done. I am truly privileged to represent this district, and it is diverse in every sense of the word. And I represent so many immigrants, but you know what? It makes the district even better. I think having those differences are actually enriching our lives. I don't look at them as separating us. I look at them as bringing us together. How wonderful is it for me to sit here and tell you, you don't need to go to India for best Indian food. We have them right here in my district.
Yes.
Or for Persian food.
Absolutely.
Or some of the parades that we do, some of the different events that we host. And to take part in those and experiencing them for yourself without going more than 15 miles away from your home.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I really cherish all of that, and I say that's some of the best things that I see, but it is a hard time to be an elected.
Absolutely.
And my goal has always been to represent this district to the best of my ability. We do pass legislations for masses. The safety of our communities are first and foremost in our mind. The education for me is a priority because I know this district has some of the highest property taxes. And people who move here are really hardworking people who are willing to pay those high property taxes because they know their children will be benefiting from a great public education.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I've done everything in my power to bring more funding back for our public schools so that it can take some of that burden off of the real property owners and residents.
Right, absolutely. Senator Kaplan, you've talked about this, you know, the easing the economic burden on your constituents one way or the other. And there's, once again, several programs you're working on, you know, for economic relief or assistance, especially when it comes to COVID. But it's great to hear about property taxes because, especially in Long Island, that is one of the biggest concerns.
Yes.
It is a struggle between deciding, like you said, for your children's future, being in a, you know, in a very attractive district versus sustaining those costs long term. Senator Kaplan, when we talk about some of the things that you've done specifically for South Asians, so you're very active on social media. And one of the things that, you know, this community holds very dear, much like, you know, making sure that their children are receiving the highest quality education and access to activities and a good environment to grow up in, is staying connected to their roots, to their culture. Absolutely. And recently you shared some wonderful news in this regard on social media about a bill that would make it easier essentially to celebrate in an official capacity or for schools to recognize certain holidays specific to certain ethnic minority groups. Tell us about this.
So again, it's our diversity that's our strength. I think when someone comes and talks about how they celebrate Eid, how wonderful is it for the other children to see that? You know, someone who is of Italian background to talk about how they celebrate Christmas.
Yes.
Someone like me who's Jewish to talk about my own Jewish culture. I think it is really important that we always send that message to our children to be proud of their ancestors, of their traditions, to share those with people and bring more awareness, because I think when people hear and see for themselves, it can make them feel like, you know what, we're not that different.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we all want the same basic things. And to me, having those traditions and sharing them with everybody else is just a plus.
Right.
A plus that you get in this country, like no other country.
Absolutely. Freedom of religion, one of the founding tenets of this country. So how does this bill accomplish that? I know there's certain specifics.
So there are certain days that you get off from school.
Right.
For some of the Jewish holidays, Christian holidays.
Right.
We wanted to make sure that students who celebrated Eid to be able to have
Diwali,
that off,
for example.
or Diwali.
Right.
And I know that there are schools that actually promote that and teach other students and tell them what it is and share that with them, and hoping those children go home and share that with their parents. It's a matter of, again, highlighting our differences, but bringing us together.
Absolutely.
And making sure that everybody understands these are the traditions that we want to maintain and keep and not forget.
I think once again, I think that makes everyone richer, culturally speaking, especially when the next generation can partake in those without fear of, am I getting a day off or not? Or, my friends don't know what this is, so I'm just not going to bring it up, right? Instead, we can all celebrate together. That's wonderful. Senator Kaplan, I have so many more questions for you. This is just such a wonderful conversation, and especially when it comes to small businesses and the community that works so hard to provide for their family. What resources are available to them, especially in these trying times? We're going to talk a little bit about that. यहाँ पे एक छोटी सी ब्रेक के लिए रुक रहे हैं. ब्रेक के बाद जैसे हमने आपको बताया खास करके स्मॉल बिजनेसेस के लिए क्या कुछ रिसोर्सेज सेनेटर कैप्लन के डिस्ट्रिक्ट में आपके लिए अवेलेबल हैं, उनके बारे में बात करेंगे. मिलते हैं ब्रेक के उस पार. ब्रेक के बाद सबको एक बार फिर स्वागत प्रोग्राम स्ट्रेट टॉक में. बहुत ही खास प्रोग्राम आपके साथ आज पेश कर रहे हैं. पहुंचे हैं मिनियोला में एट द ऑफिसेज ऑफ न्यूयॉर्क स्टेट सेनेटर एना कैप्लन representing District 7 in Albany from the great state of New York, our hometown. Senator Kaplan, once again, welcome back to the program. It's so great talking with you. Sometimes we speak with elected officials and we get such an air of authority and a scripted kind of dialogue, but with you it really seems very candid, and we appreciate the demeanor with which you're interacting with us. We know that you interact with all your constituents this way and the community members, so it's great to be able to share that with our viewers today nationwide. Once again, our goal here is always to get our community at large involved in the system, to be more aware of their elected officials no matter where in the country they may live. So it's great to have you kind of talking a little bit about your district and the role of a state senator and the kind of work that you've been doing. Senator Kaplan, when you talk about diversity, obviously this country, there are so many layers into the American fabric of all sorts of folks with all sorts of backgrounds. And it's really great to be able to celebrate a community that has a rich history, dating all the way back to the foundation of this country. So as we celebrate Black History Month, like we do every year in February, I'd love to know how you and your office is also recognizing not just the African American community, but overall the message of Black History Month. If you could tell us a little bit about that, please.
So I have to tell you, I was honored to have my Black History Month celebration just 2 nights ago. And it was my 4th one. The first 2 we had done in person, and this last 2 we had done through Zoom. Even though it was not in person, I have to tell you, it was one of the uplifting, really wonderful, wonderful celebrations. We had different people recognized. We had a keynote speaker. We had Lieutenant Governor Brian Benjamin coming and talking about his background. He's a first generation. His mother came from Guyana, I think. Oh, wow. And he talked about his upbringing, how he went to Brown and Harvard, and he worked, and then he decided to run for Senate. And then he was appointed last August as Lieutenant Governor.
Amazing.
We recognized the Chamber of African American Community that leads here and has a very big presence, and how they try to teach a lot of small Black-owned businesses the way to go about and surviving, especially now during this pandemic, during this difficult time. We highlighted some of the wonderful students throughout the district, whether it was for their athletic, educational, music talents, highlighting them and really recognizing them for who they are and hopefully what they're going to achieve, Teachers, it's just one story after another story. But I think one big thing is, it's not just about Black History Month. We all have to do our work to learn about Black history.
Yes.
And not just in the month of February.
Right.
I think it is important for us to learn about all different histories and make sure that our children learn the histories, because those histories are really lessons for all of us.
Right.
Some of that history is not a pleasant one.
Yeah. But we can't ignore it just because it
Absolutely.
makes us feel bad.
Absolutely. If anything, we should highlight it and say that it is wrong,
Right.
but how we are trying to change that moving forward. And I think those educations are really important. I think people who don't learn from history are deemed to repeat it all over again. And we don't want some of those history be repeated. It really, I invite everyone who doesn't know me to please go on my website and sign up. We have a lot of great events where we highlight all different communities. Because we understand, again, our strength is in the fact that we're all united, we're all together in this.
Absolutely. We're united by our differences. And, you know, Senator Kaplan, you're talking about specifically the African American community, for example, or minorities in general, right? When we strengthen the weakest among us, we all benefit as a group. So it's really important to uplift minorities and previously suppressed communities. I'm glad to hear that your office is doing lots of programs. जिस वेबसाइट की सेनेटर कैप्लन बात कर रहे हैं, आप स्क्रीन पे लिखे एड्रेस को नोट कर लीजिए. The website is written on the screen. You can take that down and visit to learn about the various programs that are conducted by your office. Senator Kaplan, we're talking about diversity and some of the hallmarks of certain communities. It is quite well known, especially here in New York, we're very, very proud of it, that the South Asian community is very entrepreneurial. They tend to, you know, veer greatly towards being small business owners, small to medium, mom and pop shops, and, you know, cater to all facets of life in that regard. You know, and there's a lot of that present here in your district, in Nassau County. So when it comes to small business owners, you know, I'll get to the resources in a minute, but I'd love to hear just the general take you have on small businesses, on the entrepreneurship, and how you feel it adds to your district in particular.
So I know the South Asian community is very, very much on board with entrepreneurship and having their own businesses. I think they are the backbone of our communities. You know, they're either our friends, our neighbors, or family members. They're what makes our community so special. And I love the fact that they are taking part, and we need to do more to help them, to help all of the small businesses to succeed and to thrive, because when they succeed, that money goes back to that community. They hire within.
Yes.
And the people they hire within also, again, put that money within the community. South Asian community is a very, very hardworking community. They value respect, honor, hard work. And I think everyone has seen that for themselves. And we want to make sure, myself especially as an elected, as someone who chairs small business, economic development and commerce in New York State, have always advocated for ways that we could help small businesses. And to send a message that New York is open for business. We want you to come and open business, small or large, small and growing and thriving and becoming large. And as the saying goes, you know, I truly believe the capital of the universe is America. And the capital of America is New York.
Absolutely.
That's why there's so many songs that they say, if you make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. Senator Kaplan, you're speaking music to our ears. We love bragging about the fact that we're New Yorkers and New York strong, you know. When we talk about this New York strong idea, it's really been exemplified in the last couple of years. I want to take the conversation towards something that is still very much a crisis and a concern, but we feel that we may be coming to a new chapter in this pandemic, in the global tragedy that has been COVID. New York was one of the first places to get hit hard, whether you talk about the city or Long Island. The devastation and the loss that we have all faced is still some of the greatest numbers. But that being said, New York was also a leader in adopting these approaches to safeguard its people, whether it was mandates or vaccine implementation. And so we're so very proud of that. But another sector that was incredibly hard hit during this public health crisis was the economy. A lot of these small businesses that are the backbone, right, that built America. Before Amazon, it was Main Street that built America, and those were the first to suffer when this pandemic came around. You have some specific resources, some economic recovery work that you're doing. I'd love to hear about that.
So I have to say, I'm always championing small business. I give a plug, and I'm giving a shout out now. Please, please, don't take the easy route. Don't sit behind a computer and order something from Amazon.
We do that for work anyways.
Go out.
Go
out and help the small businesses in your community. I think that is really vital. Aside from that, I think pandemic really highlighted and brought about surface some of the difficulties that some communities are experiencing. We as a conference worked really hard to address all different concerns. Of course, I championed small businesses and economic development. We got some companies and some individuals got a lot of relief from the federal government. Early on, we had a lot of different seminars and webinars where we helped constituents and residents and in telling them about them and how to go ahead and apply it and the sources that were available for them to tap into to get help. But last year, I championed in our budget to get $800 million in New York State for small and micro businesses here in New York, which were not loans, they were grants, which means you qualify, you get the money, and you don't need to pay it back. Obviously, there's paperwork that you have to fill out because this is taxpayer money we're using. We want to make sure it's going to the right place. But we've been advocating for small businesses in every way, every shape, form, and trying to get them not only those grants, but also have in this budget, this year, I'm working with the governor and also with my conference to have some tax incentives for small businesses and help them and get them some more relief.
Absolutely. You're talking about taxes, Senator Kaplan. Tax season is certainly upon us. Businesses have a little bit more time than the personal filings, but it's great to hear. So if folks, especially in your constituency or throughout New York, wanted to take advantage of some of these or learn more about them, where should they go? Who should they call?
Please go on my website. There's plenty of information there for all of you to review. If you don't find an answer to your question, we're only a phone call or an email away.
Yeah, and I can tell you folks that are watching at home, it may seem pretty quiet in the background, but it's quite an office they have here. The phone lines are ringing off the hook. So अगर आपका कोई क्वेश्चन आप डायरेक्टली पूछना चाहते हैं ज़रूर फ़ोन भी कर सकते हैं. कॉन्टैक्ट इन्फॉर्मेशन स्क्रीन पे लिखी हुई है. Senator Kaplan, you know, once again, as I kind of stated a little bit earlier, our goal with these programs is always to get folks more engaged, get their political activism really going, right? And I think no matter how diverse we are, how great we are at our business or in school, it all kind of falls short if we're not taking part in the political process.
That's right.
So I would love for you to directly appeal to our viewers, especially this year with such an important midterm election coming up, the importance of getting involved, what they really should be doing, whether it's something as simple as registering to vote, you know, making sure they show up for their party's various elections. Please go ahead and tell our viewers.
So in my view, really, I think it is crucial for everyone who is here, who is an American citizen, to really take an active role. From your school board election all the way to your federal representatives. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but I'm telling you, we have internet now. It is so easy to find out. You need to know who your electeds are. You need to know who sits on your school board. You need to know who sits on your park district board. Those are people who are really impacting your life day to day. And I really do hope you do a little study, and I can tell you, in all honesty, no single representative is going to agree with you 100% of the time.
Of course.
But if you agree with their views and their standing and how they voted and how their record is, 75, 80, 60% of the time, then you should be able to help them and get them reelected.
Right.
And have a conversation with them. Engage them. If it's something that's really important to you, we are your public servants.
Stole the words right out of my mouth. I love that.
This is about you and you being represented. Whether it's in Albany, whether it's in Washington, whether it's in Nassau County, or your school board.
Absolutely. Senator Kaplan, I don't think more important words can be said when it comes to folks really making a difference, not just for themselves, for their children, for their communities, in terms of getting involved in the system. I think the most important message here was to learn about those elected officials and how they serve you. You know, we have sometimes that is taken for granted, a real luxury in this country, that there is a very well-functioning political system and that the elected officials are actually public servants dedicated to making your life better. You just have to get involved in the process and make sure you work with them to do that. Certainly a lot of our viewers appreciate that luxury, but don't take advantage of it sometimes.
And please don't rely just on Facebook.
Oh my gosh, yes,
Please.
Thank you.
There are plenty of papers. I won't tell you which channel news to watch, but there are plenty of papers that you could do a little reading and really understand what it is. Believe in yourself and read and get yourself educated. Don't let someone else make that decision for you.
Absolutely. I think, you know, we kind of joke in the Indian community, don't get your news and your knowledge from Facebook and WhatsApp University, because unfortunately it has become an endemic of its own. But in any case, Senator Kaplan, it was so great talking with you, and learning a little bit about your belief system and the work that you're doing for your constituents. We wish you the best of luck in this office. It doesn't seem that you need it. Once again, अगर आप इस district में रहते हैं, in the 7th district of New York State, you are represented in Albany by Senator Anna Kaplan. अगर आप इनके साथ contact करना चाहते हैं, screen पे लिखी information को note कर लीजिए. Anna Kaplan, her team is here. They're available for you, so you can directly reach them as well. यहाँ पे ही program की समाप्ति करते हैं. Once again, आप देख रहे थे Straight Talk. अगर आपके पास हमारे लिए कोई questions, comments, concerns, आप हमें भी लिख सकते हैं. info@justbroadcasting.com, Aashmeeta @justbroadcasting.com. अब हमें दिए इजाज़त. नमस्कार.